be seated. Now for the first message, Mr. Dale Rokes.
Good morning. Good to see everybody here today. Special greetings to those on the phone line. Hope you all are getting warmer than we are. I think, what do we have, 10 below this week? It was a little bit hostile. It's a little bit more than just t-shirt weather even for us. Satan the devil, our adversary, has been discussed many times from the pulpit over the years. On Pacific's website, if you type in Satan on the topic search bar, Satan comes up 146 times. If you type in devil or demon, you will get additional hits. Since last June, Mr. Railston gave a sermon called Satan versus John the Baptist, in which he describes Satan's pride. In September 2015, he gave a sermon discussing how Satan wants to sift us as wheat. Many of the sermons, including those given by Greg, Jack, James, and Steve, and John, have all referred to our adversary, Satan the devil. Today, I would like to discuss one scripture that refers to Satan, take it apart, try to get the whole concept behind it, maybe understand it just a little bit better. First, though, a little background. Genesis 3, verse 1, and we all know this scripture very well states, "Now the serpent was more cunning," King James Version, or subtle, or shrewdest, or as the Tanakh puts it, crafty. Shrewdest, and then the RSV says that he was crafty. The dictionary describes this word as meaning clever, at achieving one's aims by indirect or deceitful methods, or it means relating to indirect or deceitful methods. Synonyms are artful, sly, wily, tricky, or subtle. The word translates as cunning here in Genesis is Strong's number 6175, which is arum, which means crafty, shrewd, prudent, or sensible. Example of it being translated cunning is here in Genesis 3. The example of it being translated shrewd could be found in Job 5, verse 12, which states, "And God frustrates the plotting of the shrewd so that their hands cannot attain success." Examples of arum being translated as sensible are found a few times in Proverbs, one being 14, verse 15, which says, "Thy naive believe everything, but the sensible considers his steps." And then in verse 18, same chapter, "The sensible are crowned with knowledge." So in Genesis 3, verse 1, we see Satan described as a shrewd, crafty, clever, subtle, sensible in a way that one would consider his steps, planning his actions, making sure that nothing he does would keep him from achieving his objectives. In Genesis 3, God states that Satan was more cunning than any of the beasts of the field. When I think of cunning or crafty animals that I'm familiar with, I think of like a coyote. As you watch them hunt, they look for patterns of behavior in their intended prey. They look for trails left behind, food sources of their intended prey. They try to figure out what their prey does and then try to be there to intercept them. And they try to blend in with their surroundings. They're very quiet, and they try to do nothing that would make their prey suspect anything until it is too late. This is the mental picture I have of Satan: calculating, hiding in the shadows, crafty, wily. When we read about him in the book of Job, he is trying to outsmart God, using various ways to hurt Job to get him to curse God. Satan was being very cunning and crafty. When he attacked Job, he didn't come out face to face like Satan did when he was talked to Christ, but Job did it through other people and through the weather and through disease to attack Job. In Job's discourse, he never mentions Satan as the source of his trials. You see, Satan was very subtle, very cunning in making sure the blame went towards God and not to him. With this mental picture of Satan in our mind, now let's turn over to the scripture I wanted to discuss today is 1 Peter 5, verse 8. It says, "Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." Okay, I don't know about you, but a roaring lion in my book is not subtle, cunning, shrewd, or crafty. He is just plain loud and scary. It is hard not to notice a lion's roar. Looking it up on the internet, a lion's roar is about 114 decibels. That number probably doesn't mean anything to you. But for full effect, men, go out and open your car hood of your car, stick your head down by the horn. Now have your wife lay on the horn button till she gets tired of it. That is what a lion's roar is like. That is not necessarily subtle or quiet. It is, in fact, a lion's roar can be heard up to 5 miles away with human ears, even farther for other lions. Notice that here in 1 Peter it says roaring lion, not crafty lion, not subtle lion, or some other word to describe the lion, but it specifically says roaring lion. The word translated roaring here in Greek is aurumai, I think that's close, is used only once in the New Testament, and it is here in 1 Peter. It means I roar or howl like a beast. So the translation is right on point here. The word translated lion, Greek Lion, is where we get the English word lion from. It is used 9 times in the New Testament, and it always is referring to a lion. We can say that we have a correct description as for what Peter is describing here, as the nature of Satan as a roaring lion. I think we can put that down as fact. Now, as a side note, earlier in the verse, it says, your adversary, the devil, prowls around. The word prowls, Greek paripateo, P-A-R-I-P-A-T-E-O, means I walk or I conduct my life. This word is used 96 times in the New Testament, and it means either walking, like how we get from here to there, like we walk, or it means a way of life. Example of this is in Ephesians 4, verse 1, which states, I implore you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling of which you have been called. So in 1 Peter 5, verse 8, could be translated, your adversary, the devil, his way of life, his purpose is to go around as a roaring lion, seeing who he may devour. I don't know how many of you in this room are hunters, or those on the listening in on the phone line, but those of you who hunt, there are just certain requirements for a successful outing. For various game, you will need the proper gear and the right weapon. A shotgun for birds, a rifle or a bow for big game, depending on the size of the game, or maybe you want napalm for rats. But in the field, when hunting, you must remain quiet, no matter what your intended game is. I've known a lot of hunters over the years, and I have never met one that carries a trumpet or an air horn to announce their presence to their intended game. If you make a lot of noise, like a lion's roar, you will go home without anything to put in your freezer. So when Satan is seeking whoever he may devour, why is he going around roaring like a car horn at 116 decibels? Why do lions roar is the question. It would seem to be counterproductive to them getting to their next meal. Following are multiple quotes from various sources that I found on the internet. I tried to make sure that I found at least 2 sources for each one of these facts to make sure that they're actual factual instead of just someone's opinion. Okay, roaring is a phenomena from which the lion can communicate with its group members in various and different reasons. The roar of a male lion will drive away the fear of the group members that the king lion is protecting them in their own territory from intruders. Lions are noticed to roaring at night when they are the most active. Lions roar only when they are in their own territory. If a lion gets into another lion's territory, it remains silent until it is sure that it has returned to its own territory. To the human ear, it may seem like lion roars are more or less the same, but lions are able to clearly distinguish between the instructions from the higher ranking or king lion to either fight, escape, or to relax. Warnings or calls for help from a fellow lion in the pride are also differentiated from the roars of lions not in the pride. Additional quotes. A lion which is planning the kill will never roar, as that would scare away the prey, and thus the purpose would be lost. They may roar once they have prey surrounded, but never before that. Roars are not used only to proclaim territory, but also to rally straying members of the pride. End of quotes. As these quotes show us, lions roar for various reasons: to proclaim domination of a territory, to communicate instructions to other lions, and to communicate to keep track of each other, or to call for assistance. We can see there are definite similarities between Satan and the, shall we call, the king lion. King lions patrol their territory, as does Satan. Satan is the ruler of this world, and Job 1 verse 7 states, "Then Satan, answering God, said," when asked what he was doing, Satan says he's been going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down in it, just like a lion patrolling his territory. King lions also instruct subordinate lions on when to fight, escape, relax. We know that Satan led 1/3 of the angels to attack and then they were kicked back to the earth, as stated in Revelation 12 verse 4. That is when they attacked God in heaven, led by Satan. We also know that there are demons with different offices, as stated in Daniel 10, where we had the prince of Persia and the prince of Greece that withstood Gabriel, the archangel. Demons can act alone or in large groups, such as stated in Mark 5 verse 15, which states a man was possessed by a legion of angels. There is governmental structure in the demonic world. Luke 11 verse 17, Satan's house is not divided against itself. So that means that there has to be some sort of governmental structure and instructions that go with it. One can conclude that Satan instructs his demons just as the king lion does his subordinate lions and lionesses. Satan led them to attack the throne of God, and any military action takes a lot of cooperation and in communication. Mr. Railston stated in his sermon last summer that Satan that there's at least 51 million demons, if not more. Don't you think it would take a lot of time keeping them all in line, giving them instructions? And then something to think about. I have no way to back it up, but as the world turns its back on God and we see the world descending into lawlessness, anarchy, dissension, backbiting, competition, and treachery, and there's historical examples that we can look back on, like Nazi Germany, Stalin, and Pol Pot, Idi Amin, the really horrible rulers that this world has had, and the rules that they lived by. And with such blatant disobedience of God's laws in human governments, just think what it must be like in the demonic realm. 51 million self-serving, lawless, treacherous, competitive spirit beings vying for position and status. Satan's time is spent patrolling the earth and his territory. He's roaring to instruct the demons to keep them in line and seeking whom he may devour. In nature, the best defense against the lion is seeing and hearing what the lion is doing, where he is, to avoid him. It is the same with us. 1 Peter 5 verse 8 says, in the first part of the verse says, be sober, be vigilant. Sober, in the Greek, means N-A-Y-F-O, means I am sober, I am calm. Vigilant, I am circumspect. To be sober, unintoxicated, refers to having presence of mind, clear judgment, enables us to be self-controlled, to also have one's wits about themselves, opposite of irrational. In the next word, which is be vigilant, Greek Gregorio, means I am awake, I am vigilant, literally, stay wide awake. We don't need to be scared with Satan, we just need clear judgment, presence of mind. We need to know what he is doing. We need to be sober, being alert, we need to be awake, watching for our adversary. The Bible, as well as many sermons from this pulpit, have instructed us on what to watch for, what to listen for in regards to Satan. And then now continuing in verse 9, New Living Translation, stand firm against him, be strong in your faith, your trust in God. Remember that your Christian brothers and sisters all over the world are going through the same suffering as you are. End of that verse there. As we see here, standing firm against Satan goes hand in hand with realizing we aren't his only target. Our brethren around the world, no matter where they are all facing Satan and the suffering that he inflicts upon us. We are not alone. Our brethren and ourselves are, shall we say, all in the same boat. I hope this message today helps us understand just a little bit more our adversary is, his nature, his walk, and what he is. We do not need to fear. We just need to watch, we need to listen, and we need to understand.